Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Radium and today I have another Terraria video for all of you, in which today we're going to be covering a bunch of various mods again. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys about something in a moment, but for the gist of the video we're going to be reviewing various Zenith tier weapons. Now this is a very broad list to make, and a very fun one to do of course, but quite frankly since Game Raiders, who's a very popular Terraria YouTuber, has done a mod covering certain Zenith mods, a bunch more have been made. So I wanted to showcase some of the weapons created by you guys, mainly because he inspired various just normal people to try and get into modding, and I feel like I should put my best foot forward in this case and try and showcase some of these people's works. Again, I do hope you enjoy this style of video, and there will be more playthroughs coming soon, but this is just something I've wanted to try. However, you may have noticed that, this is the main thing, my uploads have been slightly more sporadic and there's been less of them. Quite frankly, I'm having something known as a creator's block, which is where you don't really come up with any ideas. You want to be productive, but you just don't feel like you can, and I am at that stage, unfortunately. I promise it's not going to last forever, and I'll do anything I can to try and get back into my old mindset. But the only thing that's going to fix it is time, so I hope you guys can forgive me, and I promise to be back to you all soon. With that said, let's get into the format of this video. So, quite frankly, I've downloaded every single mod under the Zenith category in Tmod Loader. There's actually not as many as I thought there would be. There were maybe 6 or 7 of them, maybe 8. But, I mean, there's a good variety of weapons there to try out, so I figured it would be worth making a video on, even if it's slightly shorter than usual. The way we're going to be testing these weapons is DPS, which I've already organised them in. But DPS isn't everything for some of these. For example, the pickaxes are going to be very unique. And we're going to be testing these weapons out on the Devourer of Gods, because these weapons, well some of them at least, are way too strong for Moonlord. With that all said, however, let's get into the video. So first of all, we have the Zenith pickaxe. This is obviously the weakest in the entire list out of them, but it's supposed to be. It's a pickaxe. So you can see it's got 100 melee damage with very fast speed, 250% pickaxe power and 12 times range. And it also has a right-click ability for a pickaxe. So, first of all, I know it's not really worth doing, but I'm going to do a DPS test, just to kind of see what we're looking at for this weapon, and I mean, obviously it's not going to be too good, but still 700 to 650-ish DPS for a pickaxe is not bad at all. However, this weapon seems to have various unique properties. So first of all, and this is without any accessories that boost, basic statistics, this is how quick it is, which is ridiculous. Oh god, I've got Vein Miner on, so that's going to make it slightly irritating. But Jesus Christ, okay. Okay guys, I realised I did mess up because I left my home improvement on. This is an item that increases pick speed. This is how fast the pickaxe naturally is, which is ridiculously quick. Again, there's nothing here influencing it in terms of my loadout. None of these do anything. As you can see, this is just how the pickaxe is, and it's very, very quick. Additionally, it has a right-click ability where it mines larger chunks. And that works just great, honestly. There we go. And yeah, easy elevator breaks any material pretty much instantly. Unless I'm sure harder ores, maybe chlorophyte will take a while longer. But yeah, it's a pretty cool item. There's not much to say about it. It's here. However, this pickaxe has a different version of it. So if you craft this with, I believe, all of this stuff, as you can see, 200 Luminite bars, ridiculous amount of rockets, snowman cannon, and the draw containment unit, you get the true Zenith pickaxe, which I'm guessing is just ridiculous. So, first of all, statistically it's better. It's insanely fast speed with 120 melee damage. And so, as a comparison to 700, it's going to do about 1200 DPS max. Maybe 1050 to 1200 is a good range. However, we're not interested in the mining speed around here, we're just interested in this. So, it still has the same features of incredibly quick, larger chunk mining. It's very quick for the left click as well. This is still very rapid. But it has a third function. If you middle click, so your scroll wheel, this thing activates, and you mine even faster. And it is pretty much instantaneous. This is the fastest mining speed I've ever seen. And oh my goodness, I didn't even realize you could do this. Oh god. Okay, so if you do your right click combined with this, it does this. And you can literally decimate thousands of blocks in a matter of moments. Oh my goodness, okay, this is broken. And if you spam it, then you literally break everything around you. And wow, okay. This is genuinely an incredible item. Wow. Just for some perspective, we mined all the way down to hell and pretty much broke every single block around us. Save for a few stray tiles, but that is ridiculously quick. Again, I don't know whether it's balanced, and it doesn't intend to be, but this is a really cool item. Again, obviously it shouldn't be obtainable for legitimate playthroughs, but yeah, that's really, really cool. Next up, we have our first actual weapon, the Zenith ring. Now, this is what I'm kind of skeptical about. It does 400 throwing damage with very fast speed. Additionally, it stacks. It does seem to stack infinitely, so I've just stacked it like this. And it does this. It throws a wide variety of different boomerangs throughout the game. I'm seeing banana rangs in there. Maybe like an enchanted boomerang, or maybe that's just the Zenith ring itself. Just a good amount of stuff, and it does really lag the game if you do that, God. However, this weapon has a significant flaw, I find, and that's that the projectiles seem to give enemies immunity frames. As you can see here, it's only getting 2500 DPS, and despite so many projectiles being thrown, we're not really achieving that great of a DPS score. Again, the immunity really does kill this weapon. And I didn't test either of these out on the Devourer of Gods, mainly because there's no point, but I will do a test here, just to show this weapon's flaws and, like, I guess, pros and cons. But in this case, there's definitely more bad than good. For some reason, the weapon genuinely lags your game so much, which is obviously going to be dragging it back. It has bad range. If you want to play properly, you can't really do much. And yeah, literally doing this stops you from using it at all, so it's not really a favourable weapon. And if you're going to try out a Zenith mod, I definitely recommend something else, but it's still a very cool attempt. The next item we're looking at is the Zenith Hamax. This is another one I'm very interested in from the Zenith Hamax mod, my apologies. And apparently it has an upgrade, which is really bizarre. I really don't know, actually. Okay, so the next item we're going to be looking at is the Zenith Hamax. Now, believe it or not, I think this thing has a similar DPS score to the Zenith ring, which is, again, kind of confusing. But it's because of how quick this thing is. As you can see, it's achieving about 2800 DPS. Again, it's very inconsistent, but it works fine, and it's a very cool Hamax. I don't really know how useful it's going to be. Let's see. So, it genuinely has no really redeeming qualities, but it one-shots any tree, which is kind of cool, and with 3000 DPS, it's one of the best true melee weapons in the game. With that done now, that's all of the destructive tools out of the way, so we can truly get into the big boys, or the main weapons. Now, there are 4 weapons here that we can truly test out, and I don't know how well all of these are going to do, as I haven't actually tested these. Just gone in the order, in terms of the DPS they've been told to me, if that makes sense. And just remember, this is a loadout with absolutely no damage boosts at all. It's completely fair in that regard, so there should be no real problems. First of all, we have the Zenith Short Sword. This is a sword with very fast speed, although it doesn't seem very quick. Again, it does 2519 damage on a single hit, but it just doesn't really seem that good. Okay, so if we use it on a target dummy, you will see it's doing very good DPS, like anywhere from 9000 all the way down, no, all the way up to like 15k if you get lucky crits. But I mean, again, it's nothing too stellar, and this is honestly kind of lazy, because it's literally just a reskin of a short sword, and it does a lot of damage. So, honestly, one of the more unremarkable weapons thus far. Additionally, since it's so small and a true melee weapon, it's not really usable in most scenarios. Like, if you're using this against the Devourer of Gods, the only thing you're going to be enjoying is your own death, because, yeah, it's just not really doing much, is it? Yeah, I'm just not even going to try fighting the Devourer of Gods with this thing. That's ridiculous, but, I mean, it's a cool weapon regardless. I mean, not much going on, but I mean, it's a very good attempt at something cool, and this would be a very good, like, mod item, I guess, as in, like, admin, where you're just loading in to test some things out. It's a very good backup weapon. The next item we're going to be looking at is the Zenith Spellbook. Now, this is the first one I'm actually excited to test out, because it's a very bizarre weapon. Now, I really don't know how this thing works. It's craftable with various good magic weapons throughout the entire game, so the Wand of Sparking, the Water Bolt, the Demon Scythe, the Sky Fracture, the Shadow Flame Hexstole, the Magnet Sphere, the Razor Blade Typhoon, the Nebula Blaze, the Lunar Flare, and the Last Prism. So it's a pretty identical crafting recipe to the Zenith, at a different stage in the game, which I think is really cool personally. So this would genuinely be a weapon that seems to fit in quite well with vanilla, but let's see what the stats are saying and the attacks are. So first of all, it fires a wide array of just these weird attacks, which is really nice. They've spread out at first, but they seem to increase damage and then home. And then after about 10 seconds, this happens. And this projectile is honestly amazing looking. This weapon is also incredibly powerful. We're looking at about anywhere from 12,000 all the way up to 14,000 DPS. And, I mean, this thing just looks amazing, honestly. Like, this is just a genuinely aesthetically pleasing weapon to look at. One of the coolest animations I've seen in a weapon, like, period. And this definitely does seem usable as opposed to a lot of things we've seen. So I'm actually interested to see how this does against the Devourer of Gods. Okay, here we go. Let's see. So this array of projectiles, I guess you could call it, while not the best, is still alright. But this is the main damage. So let's see how this does against the Devourer. So rather than the Last Prism, it's also important to note, this thing is instantaneous. It follows your cursor perfectly. and so it can be used as against really agile foes, I should say. So it doesn't have the weakness that weapons like the Yoram's Crystal has, or the Dark Spark from Calamity. Let's get some rage in here and see. Okay, we're looking at, with no accessories, 40,000 DPS against the Devourer of Gods, which is pretty damn good. And yeah, this is honestly a really good concept for a weapon. I don't know how, but I mean, it seems fine and really good fun to use above everything else. So yeah, it comes here. The next weapon we're going to be looking at, and this is the one in particular that Game Raiders covered. This is the Zenith gun. Now, I just saw this weapon and it looks so incredibly cool. The weapon fires a wide variety of guns around you, and really quickly, in fact. Kind of breaks your game, but that's okay, mainly because I'm using Luminite bullets, probably. So let's go down to the floor to use this thing so I don't just spam this and break my game entirely. Okay, so the weapon is actually incredibly powerful. It goes all the way up to like 18,000 DPS. When you get crits, it goes to 19,000, but it's fairly consistent around that margin. And honestly, it's just really good fun to use. Again, you can customize it, and the bullets are versatile because you can use whatever bullets you want to use, if that makes sense. The animation is also really neat, as in the way the weapon is. I'm going to try some different bullets, however, just to see if that helps with lag. Okay, let's try this with crystal bullets, and oh my goodness, okay. So we're looking at 25,000 DPS with crystal bullets. That is genuinely awesome, okay. So, this thing is definitely a good weapon. I'd say it's definitely the penultimate weapon thus far. It does still lag a little bit, but of course it's going to if there's bullets. And let's give it a go on the Devourer of Gods. Okay, yep, I can genuinely see this working. This, in terms of DPS, reminds me of something like the Fetid Emesis, which is an item you're supposed to be using for this fight, which is good. Again, these are just post-Moonlord weapons, so these kind of weapons would not fit well into mods. I'd say the Zenith Spellbook would actually fit quite well into a mod, because it's not too broken. But this thing is kind of bordering on it, so if this was to fit into a mod like Calamity, they definitely have to change the recipe. However, this weapon is not the strongest Zenith-esque weapon out there. That would have to go to the Zenith. Now, I genuinely don't even remember what mod this is from. If you search Zenith and download all of them, you'll have access to all of these in-game. This thing it's very peculiar. There's no crafting recipe. So you have to use Cheat Sheet or Heroes Mod to get it, as far as I understand, and I think it is a testing weapon. So it's very basic, it's just a white sword that does a lot of damage, so I'm kind of ashamed that one of these isn't the best weapon, because both of these weapons are really awesome. This is not so much, but in terms of strength, it's, like, uncomparable. Because this thing is capable of about 500,000 DPS, or maybe 450 is a better result to say. Again, it's kind of inconsistent, but it's a very cool weapon regardless. And as you can imagine, it's going to shred something like the Devourer of Gods. Let's see. Yeah, this does a lot more damage than anything else we've seen thus far, Jesus. So, yeah, it's not that interesting, sadly. I was really hoping for a very aesthetically interesting weapon to take the cake as a #1 spot. As in, like, terms of DPS at least, but right now there's not too much going on here. Still, though, it does for a lot of damage. It's a very cool mod. And well done to the person creating it. Overall, I honestly think that all of these weapons are great additions to the game. Again, all of them do have their own quirks, and especially the last three we've seen, like, all of them are very cool in terms of their abilities, and I really just like how they've been made above everything else. So, massive props to the people who have been developing these, and I hope to see more from you in the future. I think the next important question to ask, however, is how far you can push these weapons if you're using a really powerful build. So I reckon let's try. I'm going to load up a fairly good class for each of these, and we're going to see how they compare once they have, like, better loadouts, I guess. And then we can compare these three, because all of these are good, but I guess I'll keep the short sword in, actually. Maybe the Zenith ranks itself, just to boost it. But I want to see how these do with good loadouts. Okay, here's our new damage optimized loadout. It's not exactly perfect, but it's there so no external factors will impact these weapons too much. And it's fairly good, as well as that everything's reforged, and I'm just going to grab some potions. Alright, here we are ready to test these weapons. So we've got all the buffs. Let's start with the Zenith ranks, which were very weak before. Let's see if they're any better now, and Jesus Christ, that's actually a lot better, yeah. So these weapons are now doing about 12,000 DPS, or like around that at least, so that's not terrible. The invincibility frames still hurt this weapon. But against the Devourer itself now, it's a little bit better. Again, because of the way this weapon functions, it's never going to be that good, and you have to stand still, otherwise it breaks your game. But, you know, not the worst thing in the world anymore. Okay, this is where it starts to get interesting. I'm actually intrigued to see how the Zenith Short Sword does. So let's put the target dummy on, and let's see what kind of damage we're looking at. So, oh my goodness, okay. So this is actually a fairly beefy true melee weapon. I think I'm going to actually test the hand axe out as well, just to see what we're looking at in terms of damage now with this kind of loadout, but 70,000 DPS is nothing to laugh about. And for the ham axe, you're looking at, oh my goodness, okay. It's instant, so that's something to keep in mind. And the weapon does about 40,000 DPS, which is awesome. Again, it's going to destroy everything now. And if you're vanilla using this weapon as a mod fix, it's going to do absolutely everything you want it to. In all seriousness though, the only issue with this mod is that it's not that innovative, and you can't really use it for anything. Like, you see there, like, that did a lot of damage, sure, but you can't really use it in any scenarios. And even in situations like this, it's not even good against the Ceaseless Void, because it's the debuffs the armor inflicts that's doing all the damage, if that makes sense. So, nothing is what it seems, really, and it's just not that great. Next up, however, the Zenith spellbook is something that's very much interesting me here. So, let's just test this out and just see how it goes. So, DPS-wise, we're looking at 40,000 already. Again, the projectiles come in and increase the DPS, and then once the big beam hits, we're looking at... Okay, so that's like 80,000 DPS. I mean, it's actually less than the Zenith Short Sword now, but it's actually going up still. Okay, we'll call it 90,000, so it's about equal to the Zenith Short Sword there. Again, this weapon is a lot more versatile, however, so it's definitely going to be more useful. So if we summon our Devourer of Gods in, get rid of this attack, because this one is still not that great. Again, we just need to wait till it homes, and then we can truly start doing damage. And then, yeah, this is fantastic. Again, if you do this, you can literally just target the head until it dies. And this is doing incredibly. Okay, and that's it. I mean, yeah, there's not much else to say. This weapon is a lot more versatile than pretty much all the weapons here, honestly. Like, even the final weapon is not that good situationally. Even though it destroys everything, like the projectiles are slow and the damage, despite being amazing, wouldn't work so well against like a boss like this. So it wouldn't do that well in boss rush, whereas this is versatile. It definitely has its perks. However, it's safe to say that the Zenith gun is still the one that's interesting me the most. So I'm actually kind of scared how much damage this is going to do, because it could be a lot. It couldn't actually be that much technically. But let's see how this weapon's impacted. And oh my goodness, okay. So we're looking at 135,000 DPS. So that outbeats the Soma Prime for reference. The Svan Technical, the Void Dragon, even the Contagion massively. And that is just incredible, wow. In terms of fighting the Devourer of Gods, let's see how this thing does. And it genuinely decimates the boss, wow. So that's 177,000 damage against the Devourer of Gods. Again, the body just breaks the game. So you do have to aim for the head, but Chlorophyte bullets can sort that out with a good enough PC. And yeah, this is just fantastic in terms of damage, there you go. And additionally, because of the high fire rate, very good in situations like this. With Luminite bullets, even this would be easy, but, you know, just because of how things are, it's not so much. And yeah, it's a very cool weapon. However, it's safe to say that I'm most interested in seeing what the final total of damage we can get from this weapon is. It doesn't actually seem to fire any more projectiles, just the weapon itself gets faster. So the only thing impacting it is going to be damage. And let's see what we're looking at. Okay, so my keyboard froze. But let's see. So you're looking at about... Okay, we accidentally killed the dummy. No. The only weapon that's ever done that is the True Copper Short Sword. So that's really, really good insight to how good this thing is. Wow. Okay, so that's... Is that 4 million DPS? We're going to need a stronger dummy. Hang on. Okay, we've got a regular dummy here. It's worse in some ways, but in this case it'll help us more to get a good reading. And, okay, it looks like 4 million is the peak in terms of the damage. It definitely varies just depending on buffs and such, but yeah, this is fantastic. I'm going to say 4 million is a very well-rounded number for this, but it definitely fluctuates. And in terms of killing the Devourer of Gods, yeah, that sums it up quite well, I think. Again, not good in situations like this when compared with the other weapons we've seen, but overall, there's no doubt in my mind that this is the strongest Zenith weapon ever made. It's also nice to note that the weapons are exactly the same speed as you, so you can stack these weapons really, really well, and like line them up and do a ton of damage with them if you're really smart about it. The same way that some people did this with the Influx Waver, back in like the 1-tick phase where they try and kill the Dungeon Guardian in 1-tick or whatnot. With that said, however, that's going to be rounding off this video. I am really sorry that this one's not that innovative. And in truth, I just need to get an upload out so I can get back into the creative process of things. So, I promise I'll have bigger and better things coming soon. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Peace out, guys.